Tonight, the search for answers continues as police desperately try to get to the bottom of a suspected mushroom-related death in regional Victoria. Devastated loved ones paying tribute to a Melbourne mum gone too soon.
A heartbroken son mourning his mother.
To the most loving, most caring person I've ever known. Words can't begin to describe how much I will miss you. Wish I could give you one last hug.
As tragedy strikes the tourist town of Clunes, northwest of Melbourne.
Well, it's a shock. It's something completely out of the blue and it's just terrible.
53-year-old Melbourne mum and personal trainer Rachel Dixon was attending a retreat at Soul Barn, an alternative and holistic health service, when she reportedly suffered a cardiac arrest and stopped breathing just before midnight on Saturday. Soul Barn says the event was private and not facilitated by their staff.
They do meditation and that sort of thing.
Alternative, new age type business, yeah.
Rachel died at the scene. 2 others at the centre were taken to hospital but have since been released. Police believe the trio fell ill after consuming a mystery drink, reportedly investigating whether magic mushrooms crushed up in the concoction could be the culprit. At this stage, authorities do not suspect death caps were involved, which account for 90% of fatal mushroom poisonings.
There are only 3 options the police will be looking at this morning. Was this an awful accident, so misadventure? Was it a case of suicide? Or was it something else?
I'm not aware of any records of people dying from eating magic mushrooms in Australia. Generally, what happens is people think they're taking magic mushrooms but eat the wrong ones.
The tragedy comes just 2 weeks after the health department warned poisonous fungi, including death caps and yellow staining mushrooms, are growing across Victoria.
It is simply a thing that you have to be very careful with. You have to look at each specimen. It's not like a case of that they're very distinct from other species. They have lookalikes that are toxic and can kill you.
The death also follows last year's Leon Gather lunch, which saw 3 people die after eating a mushroom-laced beef Wellington. Questions swirling around how lethal fungi may be at the centre of yet another deadly mystery.
They will need to know exactly what was in that tea that allegedly contained magic mushrooms.
People are foraging in the wild. If they don't have really good knowledge, then the best thing to do is just to buy your mushrooms at the supermarket and be happy with that.
Dr. Michael Mrozinski is a GP who debunks medical misinformation out there and is with us now. Dr. Michael, at this point we should point out police are just investigating whether this happened because of magic mushrooms. But on magic mushrooms, how dangerous can they be?
Well, thanks for having me on, Willie. It's a really sad story. Obviously, we know that certain types of mushrooms are dangerous for humans to consume, but very occasionally what will happen is that somebody will take a mushroom that they think is a magic mushroom, and by magic mushrooms we're talking about mushrooms that contain psilocybin. And I think, well, the investigation's ongoing, but it looks like probably what's happened is that somebody has been thinking that they might be taking something for a psychedelic experience, but in actual fact it's been mixed up with one of the poisonous or toxic mushrooms, which we see around Victoria, especially at this time of year.
Focusing just on psilocybin, though, or magic mushrooms, are there any risks associated with those types of mushrooms?
Yeah, I mean, there's risks with everything. I think my patients get fed up of me saying that to them, but that's the reality. I think where we've got a little bit blasé about magic mushrooms is because psilocybin has been looked at by universities as a treatment of certain mental health conditions. The problem with that, though, is that the public look at it and they say, oh, this must be safe, this must be great, and this is going to help my mental health, when in reality, every single person is different, and the way that they react to a magic mushroom or psilocybin is going to be completely different.
What is your advice to people when it comes to the dangers of foraging for these wild mushrooms?
So, yeah, my advice is leave it to the experts. Again, I think with the invention of social media and the internet, everybody thinks that they can be an expert in something. In reality, you know, we've seen that it can be a very expensive mistake if you get the mushrooms wrong. And, you know, a mushroom like the death cap, which is the one that will kill you if you take it, and some of the mushrooms that people use as magic mushrooms are very, very similar. And it's a huge, huge risk that you're taking if you really are not 100% sure what you're taking, which is why it's so sad in this situation that somebody's gone to a wellness retreat where they should be trusting the people who are doing it to give them something to for that experience and not expect to be in any health danger because of it. So I would leave it to the experts personally, and yeah, the people who believe they're experts, sometimes a little bit of knowledge is dangerous and can actually get you into more problems.
Do you think that's an issue within the wellness industry more generally, that people need to be really aware of who knows what they're talking about, who doesn't?
Absolutely. Look, no matter what treatment you're going for, whether it's a medical treatment or whether it's an alternative medical treatment, you need to know what you're getting into. The wellness industry has gotten away with this for a long time, and it probably needs to be regulated a whole lot more than what it is just now. But, you know, everybody is sceptical about medical treatments and big pharma, and, you know, sometimes rightly so, but I would always advise people, especially on my social media channels, scrutinise the small pharma as well. So the people who are playing on the, on the outskirts that don't have the testing capabilities, you don't know what you're taking, and when you don't know what you're taking, then things like this can happen, unfortunately.
Michael, thank you so much for your time tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you.